Members of the public who register to attend our open meetings have the opportunity to request a chance to speak to up to 3 minutes, and I think this board said from the beginning that we encourage this and would love to see more and more public speakers at our meetings. I understand today that 2 members of the public, Noonan and Ted Lipien, have traveled to be here and would like to address the board. Thank you, both of you, for coming down here. Please come up to the table, introduce yourself, and go ahead. I think there's 2 chairs for you guys if you want to come up together. Thanks for making the trip.
Thank you.
Who's first?
Ladies first.
Okay, ladies first. Go ahead, Ann.
Get right to it. Thank you, Chairman Schell and members of the board. Yesterday, Ted Lipien and I met with 5 of the 16 Americans who once worked for the Office of Cuba Broadcasting. On December 19th, 2009, just 1 week before Christmas, they were unceremoniously fired for an alleged reduction in force. None of the firings were done because of poor job performance, nor any misdeeds of any of the workers. While their union, AFGE Local 1812, has been tremendous, the extreme adversarialness of the BBG's legal department has left their lawsuit unresolved. The topic has been brought up at former BBG meetings, but here today in Miami, in the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, it seems fitting to implore the BBG governors to put an end to this injustice. At arbitration, the employees won at every point: reinstatement, back pay, and attorney's fees. Nevertheless, the BBG appealed the decision. The FLRA upheld their decision. The BBG reappealed to the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals and the D.C. Circuit, which upheld the original arbitrator's decision. This vicious behavior of the BBG's legal department has cost these journalists a lot. Their brand of journalism, unlike most forms, is more of a vocation. Instead of appearing on the priority list for RIF employees, they have lost their careers and have been blacklisted by the BBG. Many are skilled in multimedia. The 5 people Ted Lipien and I met with, despite their multimedia skills, have applied for more than 80 vacant job postings at OCB and VOA, for which they were more than qualified, and they were turned down. Thanks to the BBG, these Americans have lost their homes, lost their cars, lost their 401ks, sold their family's business to help pay their bills, have been hospitalized because of stress and serious illness, have lost their health insurance, cannot afford Obamacare, have no health insurance for themselves, have no health insurance for their children. These are people with families, and their families also suffer financial and emotional tolls. Their families witness their disheartened spouse or parents out of work in a tough job market. Their families are where a college student on a dean's list drops out of college to help pay the bills. While I'd like to believe that these former OCB employees were fired to save money, their replacements are contractors who get paid much, much more. Where 3 people could get a job done in the past, now it takes 10 people. Furthermore, the arbitrator found that rather than a legitimate reduction in force, these layoffs were in fact a bad faith plan to intimidate, if not get rid of, internal critics. Our meeting was heartbreaking. I wanted to cry. I urged each of these people to make a short video directly pleading their cases to the Broadcasting Board of Governors. If these videos do get aired, please watch them and listen to their stories and the cruelty they've endured by the BBG's legal department. I'd like you to realize that this unresolved lawsuit serves not only as a complete embarrassment for a federal agency in the United States of America, whose mission it is to report human rights cases, but it is a clear example of why low morale plagues the BBG. Charges at the BBG need to be made, and changes at the BBG need to be made. And my suggestion today is that they begin in the legal department and demand for the legal to advise the Circuit Court that the BBG will not file any motions to re-argue, nor have the full court hear further appeal, and that instead the agency will immediately honor the relief granted by the arbitrator. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Ted?
Thank you, Chairman Schell, for this opportunity to speak. Thank you for your leadership and the commitment you and the other board members have to management reforms. The new interim management team is a great improvement over the old one, but it cannot reform the bureaucracy or save the agency without a complete organizational transformation, and help from Congress and the board. I speak in support of U.S. international media outreach because I was a listener to Radio Free Europe and Voice of America when I was growing up in Central Europe under communism. I retired a few years ago as acting associate VOA director for VOA English news programs, and before that I placed VOA and RFERL programs on stations in Russia, Central Asia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, and Bosnia. I helped to launch the VOA Ukrainian TV program that is so popular today. The noble mission of U.S. international broadcasting not only helps those who are without access to uncensored news and opinions, it also serves U.S. national security interests and ultimately saves American lives by winning with soft power and words, as we saw in the great victory of the Cold War, at least for some people, but not, unfortunately, not yet for Russia, China, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and many other parts of the world. That is why I am here. I am also here to express my strong support for the bipartisan Royce Engel U.S. international broadcasting reform legislation. In 3 minutes, I can just make one point. This bipartisan legislation is essential to free U.S. international media outreach from the bureaucracy. Do not believe for a moment that a central, constantly expanding bureaucracy of any kind can run U.S. international broadcasting better or with greater savings for U.S. taxpayers than the surrogate media outlets like Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, and Voice of America, which has a completely different mission, can do on their own. The bureaucracy that we have now is what we have now, and we need to move away from this model. I understand that some people are concerned about some wording in the bipartisan Royce Engel bill with regard to VOA's mission. But that is not an issue that cannot be resolved by putting the VOA Charter in full in the legislation. Its key provisions are already included. Congress could also specify once again that all three elements of the VOA Charter must be observed. Why do I think a central bureaucracy is unproductive? Because it has no direct link to any audience or any programs. It does not specialize in producing any kind of media content, and after USIA was abolished, it does not even have any connection with foreign affairs or foreign countries. It exists largely for its own sake. Why do I think that surrogate media outlets are needed more than ever? Because they know their audiences and they specialize in reporting the news that is most sought after in these countries. Let me give you just two examples. A contractor posted a map on the VOA Worldwide English News website showing Crimea to be part of Russia, embarrassing the US government in front of the whole world. That's part of current trend of hiring contractors and replacing experienced journalists with people who need more training. They need to be better paid, and they also need to be better treated. Incredibly, the central bureaucracy ordered a public opinion poll to be conducted and just annexed and occupied Crimea. A survey in which people, some of whom are afraid for their lives, were asked whether they think that the United States plays a positive role in Ukraine and in Crimea. One U.S. expert said it was crazy. Not surprisingly, the results showed overwhelming support for Russia in occupied annexed Crimea. What happened? IBB, the bureaucracy, issued a press release, had a press conference in Washington promoting these results, and then got VOA to report on them without any questions asked. I think that kind of management approach needs reform, and that's why I'm supporting the Royce Engel U.S. International Broadcasting Reform Act, and I hope that the board will also see this point and support these reforms because they are desperately needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. And thanks, Ann. And thanks you guys for traveling down here to be here today. Thank you.